Hey, Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. I am Ron Luce, joined tonight by the one and only Cody Del Mendo. We're talking not only about a Cubs winner, we're talking about Justin Steele's first win as a starting pitcher. We're talking about an Adbert Alzolay 4-inning save. We're talking about Frank Schwindel continuing the legend. And we got more for you guys because Cody has a week worth of thoughts in his head from being in California. But before we get started, again, Ron Luce, Cody Del Mendo. Cody, first off, how you doing tonight, buddy? Cubs win. We're in a good mood tonight. This is good.
Yeah, man.
When is the last time you and I actually talked about a Cubs win? It's been a while. It's been a while.
No, it's been a while. I want to say we had a game. The last time I did a game, I want to say it was like right after they got swept by the Royals. So
I think you're right.
That's the last one I can remember. So I don't remember the last time me and you talked about a game in which they won. The only ones it was almost like they were getting repetitive, where we just talk about the future and talk about how bad they are, and then maybe touch on Baez, Rizzo, or Bryant if they hit a homer that day or some shit. But I did the last one before I went to California. It was me and Joey Ricotta, and I believe it was a W against the Rockies, I want to say. And all I asked for was just, just stuff like what we saw tonight, man. We got a nice, really, probably Justin Steele's best pitching performance. Wish he could have maybe gone 6, but, I'll take 5 innings. That's more than 4, because I think he was consistently going 4 innings in every start. Yep. But they let his pitch count go up a little bit more tonight as well. I think he finished with 86 pitches. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But, you get that. You mentioned Alzolay coming off the IL. I assumed at first he was only coming in as a bullpen arm because he didn't get any rehab appearances in AAA. I think. I could be wrong on that.
I think he had at least one, but it wasn't a lot. It wasn't
really?
It wasn't like he was going for 2 weeks or anything though. It was very recent.
I wasn't sure. That's the only thing I could have came up with the fact that they brought him out of the bullpen. I mean, he was great. Maybe it's because the bullpen was taxed anyway, and it's just you need to get this guy some work. And I don't care if it is the Twins, man. Beer Garden Jim, he's in the stream right now. He's a Sox fan. He's had to hear it all year about how the White Sox haven't played anyone all year. I don't care if the Cubs suck and they're playing a team that sucks too. A win is a win, and you're getting experience for a guy like Justin Steele, who is or isn't going to be in the rotation next year. I don't know, but right now I think he's probably your number 4 starter, pending free agency. He looked great. He looked great. He allowed 1 hit, and
single hit all night.
I know he struggled with getting the swing and miss, but he forced a lot of ground outs and he got outs. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're gonna get outs, that's all I care about. Especially at this point, if we're gonna get into the nitty gritty of really analyzing a pitcher and if they're good or not, okay, but for a guy like Justin Steele right now, he's still trying to figure out if he's going to be a serviceable starting pitcher. And even after tonight, we still don't really know. It was his best start, no doubt. But if he has a bad start the next one, then you're just back at square one. And you're just number 4 starter at best, I don't know. You know what I mean? So you just got to take a breath and just appreciate okay, we took some steps tonight. Frank Schwindel, the fucking legend himself, fucking hits a homer. Patrick Wisdom he should have had a homer. He should have had 2 homers again tonight.
He should have.
The second one unfortunately hit the dead center. And the first one just happened to stay on the warning track or whatever.
Yeah, little WTP from Patty Wise.
But I mean, I don't know. I mean, offense, when you get 3-run homers, you don't need a lot of offense. You know what I mean? And plus the guy that went for the Twins, he wasn't bad. He gave up that 3-run shot to Schwindel, and then he made up for his major league debut. He was pretty good. I'll be interested to see how the Twins plan to use him next year. But I mean, overall, man, it was just a really good night to just I'm just glad we're not sitting here bitching about just sucking, and glad we didn't have to come on here and start the show early and then have everyone make fun of us like they did over the weekend with the White Sox.
I feel that.
Never forget, never forgive. I'm going to remember that. But you know, like it's just nice. I don't care if it's the Twins. The Cubs suck too. The Cubs suck too, man. And I tweeted it last night, and people like there was a guy at work who mentioned to me today. He's like, you know, there's no way the Cubs are going to go 500. Even Joe Maris on last night's pod, he read my tweet on the show, and him and Joey both kind of laughed about it. And I'm like, I don't think it's going to happen, but if you look at the schedule, the Cubs don't play a lot of hard teams. They play a series with Cincinnati, they play a series with Pittsburgh, and then they got a bunch of like just average teams. The Cardinals, it doesn't even matter if the Cubs are good. They always play well or play up to par against the Cardinals.
Right.
So I'm looking for the Cubs to play big spoiler in September, man. And if that means going 500, cool. If it means just like ruining the Cardinals' playoff chances, great. Like I don't
even
care.
Better. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Better.
Like it's a game like tonight was just one of those like there are pieces here. People who think that it's going to take 3, 4, 5 years or whatever for this team to get back to it being competitive and being like in the division race. They just have not paid attention to what the Cubs have, not only in the farm, but just like even on the roster now. I mean, I don't understand why they would think that. Again, this is all free agency pending, but still, like they're despite all the bad games, the ones that have been good, you're just kind of like, all right, well, we have some pieces here.
Right.
Now we just gotta like figure out who we want to keep around, who we want to like, you know, build around and stuff like that. And I don't think any player on the roster right now is someone you want to build around, except maybe Patrick Wisdom, maybe. Now, obviously, Kyle Hendricks and Wilson Contreras are here, but you know, I'm talking a lot, so I'm tired. I'm sorry for holding you back, but these are just my thoughts on just tonight's game and everything. I'm just like, it was just nice. It was just nice.
It was nice, and you're 100% right though. You got a week. Remember, you got a week worth of thoughts and opinions to catch up on. But first, before we keep going, I will add that to the hat.
Fly
it's not
baby.
Straight. But we'll fly it. A W's a W. I don't care. Like you said, I don't care if it's against the Twins. We took a series sweep against the Twins. I don't care if it's 2 games. Anything matters at this point in the season. And you know what? You're 100% correct. This team, I said it the other night on another show here at Cubs on Tap. This team reminds me a lot of the 2014 Cubs, of the essence of like, there's the pieces. Like you can see the guys that are going to make an impact on like the next great Cubs team. They might not be the stars of the team, but they're going to be there and they're going to make that impact, right? Like I could totally see a Patrick Wisdom being a part of that, even if he is like a 4th infielder. I mean, fuck, the dude's already shown he can hit for 30 home runs, and he doesn't even need 400 at-bats. Like that was the big storyline coming in, right? We talked, with Scott from Iowa, loyal listener of the show, and he was always like, hey, manager down here says you give Patty Wise 400 at-bats, going to hit 30 home runs. He doesn't need 400 fucking at-bats because he's probably going to do it in less than 300 at-bats. At the pace he's going, you know what I mean? Like
he just hits the ball over the ballpark. He hits it hard. Like,
he's a guy.
I don't know what to say it.
Yeah, he's a guy that like people are like, okay, we could see it. Schwindel, holy shit! Like his bat's been unbelievable the whole year. Rivas is giving us something to get excited about. He's an on-base machine. Like they are guys here that, again, even if they're not the stars, they don't need to be the stars. Like they can still be just the role guys. And you feel it, like you said, free agency pending. Promotion pending, and I say that mostly for like a guy like Brennan Davis, but like the pieces are there. Like they have some pieces again to be at least exciting next year and at least competitive. They don't have to be NL Central winners and World Series aspirations. As long as they're in the mix for the NL Central title in 2022, I think for a lot of Cubs fans that's a victory. Like you know what I mean?
It should be. That should, like, and I say it should be because for so long before 16, fans just wanted to make the playoffs. We'd just be happy to make the playoffs.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that we should lower our expectations and have the lovable losers mentality. I don't think wanting to win a division every year is a lovable loser mentality. That's just that's the base level of expectation because it's so hard to win the World Series unless you're the fucking Giants of the last decade. You know what I mean? So,
facts.
And I guess the Dodgers too. But
even then, they only won one?
Yeah, and they look in line to possibly win another, and there's probably more down the line too if you look at the roster. All on paper, of course. But you could have said that even years prior too. So, but that proves also that it's just how hard it is. It doesn't matter who's on your roster. You just putting a winning team out there will at least give you the chance. And you said 2014. Right now, at this point, I still feel like this team looks more like 2013 with, like before, if we're going to use that era as an example, it was before Javi Baez came up, obviously before Chris Bryant. You only had Anthony Rizzo and you had Starlin Castro. Right now, if I look at this team, I guess Patrick Wisdom is your one of those two representative type guys. And I
feel like he's your Starlin Castro in a lot of ways.
Yeah. But
yeah.
And then like Schwindel, like I know he's hitting. I know he is. But he's also 29, and he also, was hitting like 150 with Oakland before coming to the Cubs. Like, I'm just waiting for him to have that free fall. I don't want to believe that. Like, if he hits well in September too, he's definitely earning him spot on the roster next year too. But I just don't think the Cubs should roll into 2023 or 2022 with him as their starting first baseman at this point. Now, him and Rivas as a platoon, I guess, perhaps, but that's also still a lot of questions because you don't know what you're going to get out of Rivas either. He doesn't even have 50 play appearances yet, right? So you don't really know. Like, there's just a lot of question with those two, and I guess that's okay going into a year like next year, but I'd also rather just have Anthony Rizzo and then, roll with one of those guys. And, if they can play another position as well, that maybe that is more beneficial. Again, that's me holding out hope for Rizzo. He still hasn't changed his Instagram or Twitter profile pictures yet, man. And he posted some on his Instagram story today. So he's on it and he just hasn't changed anything. You know what I mean? So again, I'm just leaving that hope out. I think all Cubs fans should still leave the hope out. Don't get too up for the letdown, but I'm just saying that it's a possibility. I think he's the one who's most likely the one who could come back. The one that I would ideally rather come back than Javi Baez, which I'm sure we'll talk about eventually. But
we will.
So yeah, I get again, and this is like pending free agency, of course, maybe I'll feel like, all right, this is more of a 2014 season after free agency, I guess. We'll see. There's a lot of things still that need to develop with this team, but I saw a tweet earlier tonight. I guess the Cubs in their last 30 games, they're 9-21. And then in the previous 30 games before that, they were also 9-21. So if you think about it, they really haven't been much different.
Yeah, with literally a completely different roster. Yeah.
Right. Like they really haven't. And that kind of goes back to proving the point that it was probably the right choice to trade those three guys. I still think they should have kept Rizzo out of the three if they're absolutely going to sell. I still think keeping Rizzo would have at least been good for potentially keeping him around because I think it's now less likely that he comes back. But
agreed.
Again, money talks. So we'll see. I know he's playing he started hot with the Yankees, but he's come back down to earth. Chris Bryant's the only one who's still playing up to what he was with the Cubs. And that doesn't surprise me a bit. But all I'm saying is you have a lot of different guys here, and I still just don't really know what the Cubs should do. The only thing I got is Patrick Wisdom should be here. And, then you get moved to the pitching. There's obviously Justin Steele was awesome. And he's making a bigger case than Keegan Thompson at this point for getting that number 4 starter. I think the Cubs need to get 2 free agent pitchers and then have Alec Mills be their number 5. And then you're good. And then Keegan Thompson was great in the bullpen. Maybe he's just a good bullpen guy, man. Like shit. Yeah. I can't be mad about that in today's age. But still, there's still time for Keegan Thompson to rebound. He just wasn't good against the White Sox, and even the start before that, he was kind of shaky. I don't know. But also, Justin Steele just sounds like a fucking bomb ass pitcher's name, man. Like just seeing Steel on the back of the jersey.
Cool and tough as steel.
Cool and tough as steel, baby. Put that on a t-shirt, print them right now, sell them on ontapsportsnet.com and credit me, damn it. Yeah, man. I can't get enough of Justin Steele. Even in some of the starts that he hasn't gone deep. I mean, a lot of it is just because of pitch count, but tonight Rossi let him go 86 pitches. Maybe, he might have been able to go 6, I guess, if they would have thrown him back out there, but he wanted to get him out of there with clean 5. I'll take it. Yeah. Even if the Cubs were competitive, I would have taken that,
Oh, hell yeah.
He's just showing everything, I think. I know a lot of people are still questioning the lack of swing and miss, but I just think that comes with learning. And
oh, for sure.
He just can't throw. I wish we've seen times where he's going up there on the mound and pumping 98 as a starter. So yeah. I don't know what it is. I just think that's more of a learning curve and figuring out how he wants to go at batters the first time through the order and then the second time. And, I mean, that's every pitcher's thing, right?
Right.
Just like the guy for the Twins tonight. He did really well in the first time through the Cubs order. And then even those Cubs hitters, those are major league hitters, they realized that he was doing the same stuff to them in the second time. And that's why Frank Schwindel hit that homer, because the pitcher didn't try to do something different the second time through the order, and those major league hitters adjusted quickly. That kind of shows just how good those players are for the Cubs, even though they're bad. It just shows how good a major league pitcher or a major league hitter is compared to a AAA guy. So,
oh, absolutely. Yeah, and going back to what you said about Steele, like I got to listen to a little bit of the Cubs postgame show on Marquee tonight, and Ross in his postgame interview said, he was like, Justin looked really good tonight, but the biggest difference tonight versus every other night was his 2-seam and his 4-seam fastball truly looked different. Like they didn't blend. You couldn't like mistake one for the other. Like there was the good movement on the 2, and then he was able to hammer the 4. And I think that's going to be a big key for him, because we already know the wipeout stuff he has. We've seen the slider. We've seen the curveball. He's got a solid changeup. We've seen all that. The key, I think, for him is truly going to be, can you mix those 2 pitches? Can you get your 2-seam to truly act like a 2-seam and fade away from, the right-handed hitters? And can you pump that 4-seam like what a true 4-seam should be? And I think he had that tonight, and I think that was a credit to it. Sure, he only had 3 Ks in 5 innings. He walked 3 in 5 innings, but he only allowed 1 hit the whole game and no runs. Like he looked good. And again, this is only his 3rd major league start. Like he finally got a W, and he has so much potential. Like he doesn't scare me. And I think tonight truly was, before we talk strictly pitching, like we talk about the guys like Frank Schwindel, who's been killing it. We talk about all these other guys, Wisdom and so on and so forth. And we look at the future, and I still manifest Nicholas Castellanos back in a Cubs uniform myself. But like on the pitching side, tonight was a perfect example of like what the future can be, because you have Steele go 5, very solid 5. And then Adbert Alzolay comes in fresh off the IL and pitches a 4-inning save. Yeah. Like, are you fucking kidding me? That is insane. But that just shows the amount of talent, like you said. Like, it just shows the amount of talent that this pitching staff could have going forward in the future.
It just takes longer for pitchers, and that's why I never got mad at the Cubs front office for drafting heavy position players and then buying pitchers, because
position guys come up quicker.
You're right. Yeah. And they succeed faster than pitchers, unless you just are you're one of the greatest pitchers of all. I mean, Jacob deGrom was great the moment he came to the show, right? Like, and other guys, Shohei Ohtani, like there's just some guys who are different, but majority of just pitchers in general, like they're going to take time. They need innings to pitch and to develop and to figure out how they want to go at batters and figure out what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, like fuck, Adbert Alzolay going 4 innings to get a save. And I still don't know why they brought him out of the bullpen, other than the fact that the bullpen was taxed, I guess. But shit, I mean, I think it also adds another dynamic to him as well. If that's a thing. I mean, I still think next year you're, at worst he's your 3 starter. Again, I still would like to have 2 free agent starters, one being a high end free agent one, and then the other being, more of like a innings eater type guy, kind of like what they had hoped Zach Davies would have been this year. But I don't want Zach Davies back. I'm just saying someone like him, like that's supposed to come in and eat innings.
That concept of that type of pitcher. Yeah.
Which
Totally understand where you're going with
still
that.
could be, but there's just a lot more risk with that rather than going getting a proven guy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. I mean, again, I think Joey has a good comment here. He says it's a innings limit. I think they're going to keep him out there the rest of the way this year. I'm assuming he's talking about
Alzolay, yeah,
or Alzolay.
And Dope Red Beer also chimed in and said a very similar thing earlier. He said that they were talking, and they did talk about it on the broadcast about like wanting to limit his innings. Mm-hmm. Ironically, he goes 4 out of the pen tonight, which again, pitch count wise though, he was good. Like I don't even think he. Actually, I'll give the exact stat.
The very first inning he came out, he literally, I don't even think he threw 10 pitches the first inning that he was out there.
I was going to say, he only threw 40 pitches the whole night. He threw 30 of his 40 pitches for strikes. That's
you love to see.
That's how good Alzolay was. And again, but like, yes, hold on. I need to share this one because you were just talking about guys to go get. Yes. Yes, Aaron. Yes. Let's go get Marcus Stroman. Because I agree with that. I want Marcus. I absolutely love Marcus Stroman, and he would be perfect for this Cubs team. But like you said, like if you worst case scenario, Justin Steele's your 4, Mills is your 5, Keegan's coming out of the pen. Maybe you fit Alzolay maybe as a 5, like maybe like halfway through the year, especially if he thrives in the bullpen. And you go get like 2 proven guys. You go get like a Marcus Stroman, and then, like you said, you go get an innings eater. Like this team in 2022 can absolutely compete. And like, I know again, every person that's not a Cubs fan is gonna be like, oh, you're high, it's 2025, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, see, but it's just somebody said it. It might have actually been Joe today, Joe Maris on Twitter. I call it the out of town ignorance of like, you don't watch the team enough to truly understand what's here. So unless you truly have a valid opinion on it, just shut the fuck up and move on. Because
it's like the people who say that they're just being trolls, honestly.
Sure, of course.
Of course. Again, neither of us are saying the Cubs are going to be World Series contenders. No. We just think that if they just make certain moves, they could definitely be in the division race. Yeah, Milwaukee's having an insane season this year. Do you think they're going to do that next year with the history of that franchise? No, because they don't buy anyone.
Nope.
And Christian Yelich's contract's going to freaking kick in next year. And he has not lived up to any of it. Sorry, no one wants to talk about that. Everyone wants to talk about Jason Hayward and how much he's a $22 million trash can. No one's talking about Christian Yelich and just how bad he's been since he signed that contract extension. No one.
Nobody.
But, whatever. I that's just one thing. Like,
yeah.
They're eventually, they probably will still be very good.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Woodruff and Burns and Peralta are no joke, no doubt. But I can't see them putting that type of season up like they have this year consecutively. I just don't see it. Just based off, they don't have a big enough body of work to prove that they could do it. Next year is just to prove that, hey, we're not just 1-year wonders. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So. And that's a long time away from getting to really figuring out. But I mean Milwaukee, they just I don't know how they managed to be this good. Like I thought they'd be good, but I don't know how they managed to be this good. But it all started with starting pitching, and that's what the Cubs need to do. Is they need to get their starting pitching back to where it's at least respectable, and then go from there. That's the start. And that's how they did it in 2015 when they signed John Lester. Jason Hamill was really good innings eater, so
Jason, that's the type of dude, like you said, for that innings eater role that now I'm thinking about it, like a Jason Hamill-esque pitcher. Because again, he wasn't flashy. He wasn't unreal. but he just got the job done. Like he gave you a good 6-7 innings out of the starting rotation. He'll K 6 to 8 guys a night. He'll give up maybe 2 or 3 runs, but like he keeps you in ball games.
Right. I remember in 16, like he was like the number 5 starter in the rotation in 16. And then like there were times where he just like pitched his ass off and had like he'd go 7-8 innings and people start talking. It's like, oh, is he gonna have a chance in the postseason? And I don't think he pitched 1 inning in the postseason.
I don't think he did either.
If he would have been on any other team, he would have pitched in that postseason because he
100%.
He was solid. He was solid.
100%.
So
yeah. Well, and that's the thing is like I actually joke with people. For anybody that ever asks me, they're like, what's like of you going to games, what do you remember most about that 2016 season? I say, well, I'll tell you what. I went to about 7 games that year, probably 8 games that year. I shit you not. Hamill pitched 4 of the fucking 7 or 8 games that I went to. So I saw a lot of Jason Hamill that year. And I'll tell you what, he like you said, he was just consistent. He was good. Like he gave you what you needed, especially out of a number 5 starter on a contending team like the Cubs were that season. And if that's what you can get in this free agent market, even if he's your 3 or 4 in your rotation, like again, you get that respectable, like you said, that respectable rotation again. Like you get that with Kyle Hendricks, you get that with Justin Steele, you get that with a guy like a Marcus Stroman. You find that innings eater, and then you have a guy like Mills as your 5th. Again, shameless plug. We're going to pump the shit out of everybody's articles tonight. Joe Maris wrote a great article a couple weeks ago about consistency and about Alec Mills and how every team needs an Alec Mills. Yeah. If he's your 5 starter for the Cubs, absolutely. You're in good shape. You're in real good shape. And all of a sudden, this rotation looks respectable again. You got Frank Schwindel hitting bombs. The 2022 DH is going to do us good because like Dope Redbeard is when we were talking about Rivas versus Schwindel, if you can DH one of those guys, even if they come off the bench maybe every other day, that's great. Cool. Awesome. Right. Especially if Rivas has the bat that everybody is hyping up that from his time in AAA, which again, I mean, he's hitting the ball well. Sure, he's not always getting on base, but like he's hitting the ball well. I mean, and he's only 24 years old. Like he's super young still. And I think a lot of people forget that. And like I didn't even realize that. Admittedly, because like Joe and I did the episode on Sunday when he debuted, and I'm like, wow, this Rivas kid, he's really good. What is he, like 27, 28? And Joe's like, no, you dumb son of a bitch. He's 24. And I'm like, really? Wow.
I had no idea it was part of the Tony Kemp trade. I had no idea until this morning.
I didn't either. Again, I'm going to give kudos where kudos is due. Who reminded me of that? But Joe Maris. So our little encyclopedia that we got here, Cubs on Tap, is Joe Maris. But like that's the thing is like you can absolutely get back there, right? And then you even add with the bats, right? Like sure, maybe you're in a weird transition year where you add 1 or 2 bats to this lineup, and it's a lot of the same guys. But again, like Patrick Wisdom's hitting, Schwindel's hitting, Rivas is hitting. Like a lot of these guys are fucking hitting the ball. Like Matt Duffy's hitting. You know what I mean? Nico Horner's going to be healthy next year. Nick Madrigal's going to be healthy next year. Oh, did we forget about him? Like, we got Cody Hoyer in the bull again. And honestly, like going back to last night's game, not to take away from Joe and Joey, who did a great job on the post game. If you haven't listened to it, highly recommend you go and listen to it. But like, I think the Cubs are starting to find their back 3 of the bullpen now for this next run, and that's Rowan Wick, Cody Hoyer, and Manny Rodriguez. Like, the pieces are there again, and that ties back to exactly what you said at the top of the show. Like, the pieces are there. This Cubs team can get there. And again, I think tonight's win is just like it's the little tease of that, right? Like, because you see the glimpses, you see these guys do well. Again, the pitching alone tonight was worth getting excited about. I mean, shit, you only had to go 2 guys for 9 innings. Alzolay was absolutely fucking electric, and so was Steele. Again, final stat lines for both of those guys. Steele gets the win. He's now 3-2 on the year. 5 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 3 walks, 3 Ks. Great. Adbert Alzolay goes 4 innings with 1 hit, clean sheet the rest of the way with 5 Ks, and gets the save, the first of his career. 11th different guy to get a save for the Cubs this year. I heard that on the postgame show today, too. I thought it was a fun stat. But, like, holy shit, that's exciting. And, and Dope Redbeard here in the comments. Again, a guy that huge friend of the show, Mr. Brad Wick, is also coming back to the bullpen next year. Like, they have the pieces. this pitching staff is not going to be just some gong show. Like
Yeah.
Jed and Dan Kashevitz damn well know, like, we need to fix the pitching in order to be competitive. And I know you and I have had this conversation before too, Cody, of like kind of the reverse of the first rebuild, right? Of like where, like you said, they drafted really heavy position players and went and bought pitching.
Right.
It almost feels like they've had a couple of years now to develop that pitching with the pitching lab and everything. And like maybe they develop pitching and go buy hitting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you imagine that? Because I feel like pitching almost costs more to teams than hitting does because, like you said, hitting is so much easier to develop than pitching is. So if you can find a niche in developing pitching,
well, you know,
who knows, right?
I'll just close this little part out with Nick Castellanos, Marcus Stroman, and John Gray.
Cody, that's music to my ears. Music to my ears.
The John Gray thing kind of gives me Tyler Chatwood PTSD, honestly, but he's also a guy who was a number one for the Rockies for a long time.
He was. Also the number 3
draft pick. Yeah, high draft pick. I think he could, you know, in a role like just 8 innings, I feel like he could be solid. I feel like, you know, baseball is baseball. You never know. But, you know, and I get Tyler Chatwood PTSD because everyone was like, oh, Chatwood should be so much better with the Cubs because he's out of Coors Field
away
now,
from
and he had decent numbers in Colorado, you know, and then he came to the Cubs and was leading the world in walk rate, you know, like
he was a big thumbs down, Cody.
Big thumbs down. There was
little
so many
foreshadowing
times,
here.
There were so many times that I was trying to get up for him, but yeah, good foreshadowing because I'm ready. Can we please talk about Javi?
I think yes, I was gonna say let's transition because again, a great win tonight, and this is gonna be kind of the little like filler discussion between previewing tomorrow's game, new series against Pittsburgh, 4-game series at Wrigley Field. It's a night game. Don't know what the post game is going to look like yet. We'll keep you updated for those that are listening. But nonetheless, just to close it out, again, huge start by Steele. Great look by Alzolay. The legend of Frank Schwindel continues. Great things from the Cubs tonight. Big 3-0 win. And sweep of the Twins. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. I don't give a fuck that it was 2 games, and I don't give a fuck it's the Twins. They swept. But let's talk about the big old thumbs down.
Thumbs down.
Big old thumbs down. Did you hold on before we do get into this? Did you see the fucking asshole in the stands today with the thumbs down sign, but he couldn't hold it right, so it was sideways?
Like I did not see that.
You didn't see that?
No,
go find that on Twitter, dude.
I did see a guy. I did see a guy
hysterically.
I saw a guy holding a sign that said, "I wasn't booing. I was
Buayes.
Yes, Buayes. Yeah,
I saw that one too.
Yeah, something like that.
I saw that one
These
too.
Mets fans. Okay.
Sound off, baby. I know you.
All
it's
right.
pent up. You got it.
If you saw my tweet earlier today, go ahead.
Quickly, before you say Cody's tweet, also go check out Cody's article at www.ontapsportsnet.com talking about this exact argument before we get going. Cody, continue. The floor is yours.
Okay. So I sent out a tweet like when I was in California, I'm pretty sure I was like, 10 glasses of wine in. I had a lot of wine out there in Napa Valley. And I don't remember exactly what I was doing, but like I saw I just listened to the comments Javi Baez said about, the thumbs down thing or whatever. And, my tweet was just saying that like, I understand from a sense of why he might say that because no one likes getting booed. But there's so much of Cubs Twitter that's just defending this guy, saying that he didn't do anything wrong here. And that's just not true. Like what he did, I don't blame the Mets president or whatever for releasing the statement. What I do blame the Mets president is just saying what he said, the way he said it. He probably could have gone about it a different way, but I don't blame him for putting a statement out because he's got a freaking save face for the fans, and he had to choose the fan side because they're the ones paying them the money, for them to pay the players. You know what I mean? Sure. So again, like a lot of people thought that I was just like rah-ing the, for the fans and being like, we can say whatever we want at the games and stuff. That's not what I'm saying. Like I've heard some really shitty things at Wrigley Field from Cubs fans and just any fans in general of like just being drunk idiots and just saying some of the dumbest shit at players. You're right. I'm definitely not supporting, booing players or whatever, even though I won't lie, I have booed some guys sometimes only because I was drunk or whatever, but it was never like a serious thing. It would be like 1 or 2 seconds and it's just like laugh about it afterwards. It's not like the players actually hurt me, but the whole thing with that entire situation, with the main thing that made me mad was just how many people on Cubs Twitter are just supporting Javi Baez no matter what over it. And I don't understand it. Obvious shirts. I love Joe Johnson. Love him. He's a great guy. I love obvious shirts. But just like making the shirt and to basically just throw away the idea of, okay, there was that Javi didn't do anything wrong here. Like with the thumbs down New York or whatever. Like I understand he's doing what he's doing because he's, it makes money. I get it in a sense, but also like, the way his tweets from his account were coming off about it was just like I just feel like he was just supporting Javi Baez no matter what he said. And a lot of that is like, there were a lot of people who were doing that. From his sense, I get it because he just helps himself shirts. But from like just regular fan perspective, I'm just like, I'm a homer too. Like, it's hard for me to not be optimistic about the Cubs. And it's hard for me to not support Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, and Javi Baez. But I think like if Javi would have said what he said and he was playing for the Cubs, do you like would we like what would have we thought? You know what I mean? We would have thought the same thing the Mets fans are thinking right now too.
Right. We'd be like, what do you mean what the fuck? Like, why are you getting mad at us?
Again, Cubs fans never booed those guys. There were some games that they booed, but it wasn't particular players.
But it wasn't New York Mets boos.
And it wasn't,
Because let's be honest, Joey Ricotta maybe comment of the night, Met fans do suck. Anyway, continue.
They do. Sorry. Again, the Mets fans, there's plenty of fault with them because, there were times where, I read tweets where it said that Mets fans were just booing to boo because the Mets were in a free fall and they're not playing well. So no matter what, every time something bad happened, they would just boo. So I in a sense, I get like where Javi's coming from that perspective. Mm-hmm. I just like I said in the article, man, I just think it's bad timing. And it doesn't even all have to do with just like his contract situation. It just has to do with just like you're creating a distraction in the like within not only the clubhouse, but now the entire franchise, forcing your team president to like pick a side. Like, I don't understand why people were just standing Javi Baez no matter what in that situation. I really don't understand it. I really don't. Yeah. And I've shut up about it because I'm tired of getting ratioed by a bunch of random ass people. But like, it doesn't like, I'm not sitting here saying that, I'm not sitting here saying that we like that Javi is, all wrong and the Mets fans didn't do anything wrong. I'm just saying that there's two sides to the story. And I just think that his timing on this entire situation was just a tough scene.
Yeah, it really was. And you know what? Like I refrain from any thought about this. Cause again, I can see it from both ways, right? Like, again, I also have a very certain opinion of New York in general, right? Like their fan base, the city. I hate that fact it smells like fucking trash all year long. Right. Again, it is what it is. But nonetheless, like you can see it from both sides, right? Like you said, like, yeah, of course you never want to get booed. Like as a player, like it's not, that doesn't do any favors to the players. Like, oh, I'm being booed, I'm going to play better. It's like, no, that's not how that works. But at the same time, like, you create yourself as a public enemy number one almost, right? And exactly what Joey says here in the comments. Bad timing. The wording of the comments made it even worse. Absolutely. Again, because he made it, and that was the article that I wrote, which was just the very newsworthy one. You gave a great opinion version of it, which I'm glad. Hey, teamwork makes the dream work. But like it really became like the Mets players versus the fans. Like, and that's how it felt, at least from a third party, outside standpoint of like, hey, we don't like this. And it's like, well, you guys suck right now. Like you guys are 7.5 back. You were in first place for most of the season and you've fallen. Exactly. Like, And again, like you said too, like it's not like Javi's hit either. I mean, his slash line's worse than it was in Chicago, unfortunately. I think it's four home runs.
Leads baseball and strikeout rate.
Yeah, so like again, like I think that's what hurt too. And I know you said it in your article too. Like if Pete Alonso comes out and says that, the narrative's probably a little different. Like because it's Pete Alonso.
And the New York media would have been a lot nicer to him.
Absolutely.
Because he's been there and he's produced.
Right.
And Javi Baez is at
Brand
that time
new,
when he
like
I don't even know if he'd been there a month yet. Like I don't think like that headline New York Daily News like back page or whatever, like that's just New York media. And like all of Cubs Twitter that was reacting to that saying like this was just too much was like, well, this is New York media. This is what they've been doing for years to just put down players. And some players embrace it and are able to hang around there for 10, 20 years and be legendary, and others haven't. I'm not saying that Javi Baez isn't going to be that guy, but he's really not off to a great start there because now like he created this distraction, not only with, making it the team against the fans and then, forcing the situation with their front office. Like I know the front office, like they could have said some things a lot different, no doubt. But they also wouldn't have had to say anything at all if Javi just didn't say what he said. So, I just think that when you're winning, you can say whatever. You can't say whatever you want, but you can say a lot of things.
You get away with a lot more.
Yeah, like I don't know how to say it. Like there's been so many storylines from the White Sox this year that from just comments in media about TLR or Tim Anderson or whoever that has been spun both positively and negatively, more negatively about TLR, but have now started to change the narrative because the White Sox are 10 games above 500 or leading the division. They're running away with it. And like, people are starting to lighten up on him finally, that's what happens when you win.
Winning cures all ills. Absolutely.
Right. It really is. And the Mets, they aren't winning. They're like, I mean, again, they were 4 games up in the division, like, and at the end of July, and now they're like 7 games back. At least last I checked was 7 games back. It's just like you just got you can't make those comments. And to me, because it's not like because Javi said stuff like he didn't say like stuff like this because the Cubs fans never booed him, but he would always there were times where he would make comments in the media about like last year he said something. Not last year. I don't know. I feel like he says things in the media that has made him look like he is this like
immaculate crybaby.
No, not even that. Just like immaculate, like athlete. Like I do everything right. I'm real. Like I'm the best at what I am.
I'm El Mago. Blah blah blah. Sure.
And as a fan, I guess like I never minded it, especially as a Cubs fan, because he was on the Cubs. And it's like, all right, well, I like having a player with that kind of confidence, but he's never played like he's the best shortstop in the league except 2018. You know what I mean? But like he just, I don't know. It's almost like he needs to be humbled because maybe if he gets humbled, he'll start like stop swinging at pitches 2 feet off the plate. You know, I don't know. Like there's just so many things. And I know Cubs Twitter thinks that I just like despise Javi Baez, and I don't. I just wish that he would just change. Like because I want him to be a Cub, but I want him to just change as a player because he thinks that 2018, like he's still like I genuinely believe he thinks that he is still the 2018 Javi, and he just isn't. He just show him like his agent needs to show him if he genuinely thinks that he can get $200 million, he still thinks he's a 2018 Javi Baez. Yeah, and he just ain't, brother. Whoever gives him $200 million, that franchise is going to be so fucked for 10 years, man.
Yeah, well, and to your point, right? Like, I mean, if he was putting 2018 numbers up in 2019 and 2020, and then even into this year, sure. Then we can sit here and make that argument that he's a $200 million player.
I'd be mad that the Cubs traded him.
Right. You know like, what I mean? But like a nearly almost 36% strikeout rate is not going to get you $200 million. Like it's the nature of the beast. I do have to share this one quick comment though from Dope Redbeard. Mets fans were in absolute shambles when Javi scored that game-winning run for them when they came back in the game because that shit was funny. But especially because they booed him like only an inning earlier when he came up to the plate. But again, like I think it just shows like, and You know what the best part of this whole thing is, and not even to like get off topic, but just it makes me giggle, is this whole like there's the Yankee fans hate Rizzo narrative, and there's the whole like Javi versus the Mets fan narrative, and KB's just chilling, having a good time in San Francisco, but like it all comes back and like it's just everybody posting pictures of Jed with this like shit ass grin on his face. And I'm like,
Yeah.
You know what, you son of a bitch, you might have been onto something. Like
Right.
you might have. I'm not gonna hold you to it yet because it's too soon to tell.
Too soon.
Because like
yeah.
Alexander Canario isn't crushing coconuts with his thighs in the major leagues yet. Like he's still down in South Bend. But like
yeah,
there's hope there, right? Like
right.
And I think that's what makes all of this interesting too, is just like
and
you know,
Pete
again,
Crow Armstrong's a top 5 prospect, and unfortunately we have to wait a while to see him. But
yes, we are.
To get a guy of that caliber back for a guy like Javi Baez, and seeing what's going on with him and the Mets, it's kind of like the Cubs. It's gonna. I don't
feel good about what they did.
Yeah, like I don't think anyone is ever gonna like necessarily win that trade because we're not gonna see PCA for a while, but. Right. If he comes up and it becomes a productive player for the Cubs in 3 years or whatever, I mean, you're just like, all right, well, it worked out, and you're just happy. Especially, and who knows? Maybe Javi does come back. I
was gonna say, especially if like Javi's back with the Cubs and PCA. By the way, love that you already got an acronym, PCA. Yeah. If PCA debuts with the Cubs and Javi's on the roster, you immediately won the trade because you got the guy back and you got the prospect out of it. Again, he was a top 5 prospect in the Mets system, which was better ranked than the Cubs was coming into the season. Not by much. It was only like 1 or 2 places, but like he's still a top 5 guy when they re-ranked the system. Mm-hmm. And that's a system that includes guys like Ed Howard, that was the number 4 prospect coming into the season. That's a system that includes guys like, I mean, like a lot of people forget, and this isn't a shot at anybody, but like Chase Strumpf and Cole Roeder were top 10 prospects in the system like 2 years ago. They're now in like the mid-20s.
Yeah.
Like this, and again, and a lot of that is injury, and because Cole Roeder's done for the year, unfortunately, friend of the show. We love Cole Roeder. Friend of, he's done with TJ surgery, and Chase is, just still a really good ball player. It just so happens to the point where like the Cubs influx so much minor league talent over the last 2 seasons. And even in the last 3, pretty much ever since Kantrovitz got here, which again, like I'm super high on the dude. I give him a blank check and tell him you're the GM for as long as you want to be here, and you put whatever amount of money down, as long as you stay a Cub and make sure this fucking machine just keeps going for the next 20 years. But like all of a sudden you're like, like, okay, there's hope there, right? And again, I think it's weird as a Cubs fan, you see this like third party drama with like Javi and the Mets, and like you just sit there and you go, because again, we're not directly involved in it. It doesn't directly affect us. Like, sure, people are taking, like you said, people are taking their sides and people are feeling the way they feel about the situation or whatever. But like,
if you want to if you kind of want to like compare it to Javi as a Cub, it's like going back to the whole stuff with Amir Garrett. I was at the game, the very last game of Javi versus Amir Garrett, where he was like sweeping him, it's like sweeping him or whatever, like doing the broom thing or whatever, which was awesome. It was fun to watch, whatever. But it was also like, after hearing Amir Garrett's comments in the post game, it was also like, according to him, at least, he's just kind of like, basically saying Javi went way too far in this entire situation or whatever. I think that's essentially what he said. And you can think what you want to think about that. I mean, I still think Amir Garrett's a soft ass, ice cream cone, vanilla for sure. But, like at the same time, like Javi took like you could tell when Javi would come up to face Amir Garrett, it was all about him in that moment, and he didn't care about anything else related to the team. Like it felt like that. Because there were times where
there's that personal vendetta.
Yeah, he had a personal vendetta with that guy, and there's times where he has done that with and not having to do with Amir Garrett. There are times where he does stuff like that, and it kind of comes off as selfish, man. And I know a lot of it is just Javi being Javi, like they used to say, Manny being Manny, like Manny Ramirez. So you just take what you take, and take and choose with everything that he brings you. Manny Ramirez brought you great offense and was a fun player and all that, whatever. Javi brings you great defense, electric
and
player
Manny,
on the bases. And
Manny would hide in the green monster, but
yeah, right, that too. And Javi, Javi's gave us a lot of great moments, right? Like there's no doubt. There's no doubt. It's just like there's a lot of those things where I'm just kind of there, where sometimes I was like, even as a Cubs fan, I was like, dude, Javi, like just play the game, man. Like some of this stuff is just over the top, over the top. And to me, I was quiet about it because, if it led to a Cubs win, it's whatever. But in the back of my head, it always sat there. Like there's just a lot of stuff about him that just like would rub me the wrong way sometimes. And like in 18, like you didn't see it because he was performing. Like it was like if you perform and you play like you're supposed, like that you're projected to play, then fine, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Aaron Rodgers, for example, the dude's a fucking asshole. He literally went on a podium and literally shit on an entire city, which is the day that I became an Aaron Rodgers guy, by the way. But like, you can't like it's hard to like I hate him because I'm a Bears fan, but like. How, like if you're a Packers fan and he says all that shit, how can you even be mad? Because like he is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
He produces. He literally just won the NFL MVP award last year.
He can literally do what he wants. He can do whatever he wants.
Right.
And that's my thing with Javi Baez is he walks and talks like he is the best player in the league, but he just isn't.
Sure. Well, and I think too, like on top of it with Javi, like. The way I approach it, I think with Javi is like you be you, but like don't get caught up in the stupid shit. Because like if we're being entirely honest, like Javi playing the way Javi does, people love it. People love that El Mago and the no look tags and the World Baseball Classic. Like people love that shit,
right? But
again, like you said, like. You don't need to take it to another level with the whole like personal vendettas and things. Like, just go out there and play. Like again, and even if he's not directing the energy at a certain player, and he's just that energy in general is like kind of, like you get that energy off of him. People love it. They're good with it. And again, like,
it's almost like he took that in.
Go ahead.
It's almost like he took that energy that he had with like Amir Garrett or whatever and threw it at the Mets fans.
At the Mets fans. And that's the thing. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it really feels like literally it's almost the concept of like, if you channel that energy, it's again, I'm gonna steal something from Gary Vaynerchuk here. For those that listen to Gary V, you know who I'm talking about. It's that idea of like you just block out the haters. Shorthanding it here, but like you block out the haters and like you channel that energy toward the haters, the Mets fans, Amir Garrett, whomever it is, and just like channel it into that like fuck you, I'm gonna be great mindset. Javi Baez could be that 2018 player every single year, and it's not a shot at Javi. It's not at all a shot at Javi, but it's like dude, you're that talented. Like people see it on a regular basis. There's a reason you are one of the most electrifying players in baseball, is because you do shit that other players just can't. Like the crazy slides, the fucking insane tags, the pimp shot home runs the way he does, the fucking golfing a ball out of the fucking dirt and throwing your bat at a ball and getting it to the fucking outfield. I still remember that game when he like tomahawked his bat at a fucking curveball in the dirt 7 feet out in front of the plate and he puts it into the outfield for a base hit. I think I was actually at that game. I think it was the second game of the season against Pittsburgh. I was at that fucking game. And again, like that's the Javi Baez that people love because he's just stupid. Like the shit he does is it defies logic of baseball.
Right.
But it's just like, dude, if you channel that energy of like hating and the distractions and shit to just like the play on the field and just block out all the noise and put the blinders on.
Right.
Like what could you be more? Because again, we all love Javi. Like every Chicago baseball fan, I think, loves Javi in their own right. I love Javi Baez. I have a Javi Baez jersey sitting in that closet that you see behind me. It's not up there because he's not on the roster right now, and that's why Ortega's sitting up there. But like,
I'm the guy who's been shitting on him, and I got 2 of them.
Right. I got 2. Actually, I got 2 too. Actually, now that I think about it, but like, that's the thing with Javi. It's just he's such an electrifying player, but it's just like again, you get the good with the bad. And I think a lot of people
Yeah.
know that, and that's just what it is and whatever. But again, like, especially being in a third party situation right now with dealing with the situation and like watching from far, it makes it so much easier to deal with because you're just like, okay.
Yeah.
But like, again, like to your point, like, I think Cubs fans still love Javi so much that, again, they're going to jump into the conversation because, again, that's your boy. Like, he helped break the curse. I still remember his NLCS, performance against the Dodgers. I still remember the home run in the NLDS against the Giants. Like, I still remember the home run in Game 7 of the World Series. Like, nobody forgets that. I still remember 2018. I still remember Javi being Javi. I still remember the Gold Glove in 2020. Like, Javi Baez will forever be a guy that the Cubs fans and faith will appreciate, whether he's back with the team or not. But it's just like, dude, we're rooting for you, and we want you to be able to be good. Like, don't hurt yourself. And I think that's where the whole argument truly like boils down to, at least in my eyes. But I have nothing else to say on it. I want to turn it back over to you really quick because I want to let you air your grievances in this. You had a week in California to just feed on this and just think about things. So I want to let you go ahead and just let it all out so that way we can talk about a guy you mentioned a little bit earlier in the show and a Keegan Thompson who we're going to see in a start tomorrow against the Pittsburgh Pirates. So the floor is yours, Mr. Delmendo. Go for it.
Like I said, man, I don't really have too much. It's just, I just think Cubs fans, I understand we're always going to love Rizzo Bryant Baez, but they aren't perfect. The only one who has been perfect since they left is Chris Bryant, in my personal opinion. He has literally been everything that he was with the Cubs, with the Giants, and now he's on a winning team. Like, he has done everything that I said he would do. I'm not shocked. I'm not surprised. Rizzo, got hot for a little bit, and now he's back to whatever. I don't know. He's going through some ups and downs. That's what happens when you're an aging player. And then, like we've been talking about with Javi, man, like, he's just a guy I'm always gonna, love and all that stuff. Everything that you said, I just think in closing, I just think that everything that happened in that press conference could have just been avoided if he just, if the media had started by asking him the question, if he just would have said something, like, it's just said it's a thing him and Lindor do to pump each other up or something, then fine, whatever.
Nobody cares.
It was almost like he took that moment and made everything about himself. In my opinion, I know he was talking about the entire team and like the fans booing him, but it's just not the time for something like that when you're losing, man. Yeah. It just, if he would have done that and been part of the Cubs, I would have been so mad. And I would have been mad in that moment, and it would have taken a while for me to get over it. And I still would have loved him. But like, it's just one of those things where you just feel like he was being a little selfish there, in my opinion. I know this is an unpopular opinion. And if someone wants to freaking DM me and fucking yell at me and call me a stupid Cubs fan, then fine. I don't give a shit. I'll try and have a conversation with you until you decide to start calling me names. But like, I genuinely just think that the entire situation, there's a lot of faults on both sides. But there are a lot of people on Cubs Twitters just think that Javi just did nothing wrong and that, we're team biased no matter what. And I'm not with this situation. No, I don't like it. So
fair.
That's my closing, man. And if you don't
I love it,
then kick rocks.
No, I love it. I enjoy that closing. Two thoughts I want to add on to that closing before we go ahead and preview tomorrow's game. Joey chimed in and said, Sonny Gray caught those New York media hands, and he sure did. He got abused in New York, unfairly so, I think, in his case, but nonetheless. Also,
great players there who got chastised every fucking week, man. A-Rod got freaking murdered every week by New York media because he wasn't living up to his giant-ass contract, even though he's one of the greatest players to ever play, you know?
Yeah, he's A-Rod. Like, literally, Christian Hernandez, Cubs prospect, number 3 overall prospect in the system, is literally called Baby A-Rod because, like, he has that much talent. So, like, that should show something. But nonetheless, also want to make note, I think it's funny. I am going to start referring to the Mets as the New York Mess because they make a full-blown statement about Javi Baez putting a thumbs down to the fans, but their GM gets caught drunk driving and they don't say dick about it. And I just want to make that known. I think it's funny because, again, hypocrites going to be hypocrites. Nonetheless, we'll keep it right there. And like you said, we'll go ahead and close that thought out. And we'll go ahead and move on, though, because, again, there's still Cubs baseball to be had. We still got things we can be excited about, and we're going to talk about that here in a second because the Cubs are back at it, and they're back home on Thursday, September 2nd, against the old Pittsburgh Pirates at beautiful Wrigley Field. It's a 7:05 local time start. You know the drill. If you're in the Pittsburgh market, you can listen to the game, KDKA FM 93.7 and AT&T Sportsnet Pittsburgh if you want to watch it. And, of course, the usual suspects in Chicago, 670 The Score, WRTO 1200, and Marquee Sports Network. On the mound for the Pittsburgh Pirates is right-handed pitcher Mitch Keller. He is 4-10 on the season with a 6.75 ERA, woof, with 68 Ks. And, yes, Keegan Thompson taking the mound for the Cubbies tomorrow, the right-hander, 3-3 on the year, 3.09 ERA and 45 Ks for himself. If we're being entirely honest, on both sides, only 6 total players have seen the opposing pitcher. 4 guys have seen Keegan Thompson on the Pirates. Only 2 guys on the Cubs have actually seen Keller. And believe it or not, Ian Happ is batting .625 and 8 appearances against Keller with 2 home runs and 2 RBIs. So I'll drop that little tidbit in there with you. But Cody, what do you think for tomorrow? A little preview, a little fly the W player. What are your thoughts?
Well, I do like to hear those numbers about Ian Happ. He's been hot. It's been a common topic. We haven't talked about Ian Happ too much tonight. He's basically reeled me back into thinking, all right, we're gonna keep him because it just makes me mad because it's like he did this in 2019 too, but he also didn't get the chance because he was in AAA the entire time, right? This year he's with the team the entire time, but then decides to hit in the last month and a half whenever there's no
season's
chance.
Over, right?
The season's over. He's such a I don't even know what to say about Ian Happ, but I'll take him as my fly W just because he does seem to play well there and in Cincinnati for some oddly reason. As far as Keegan Thompson, I know I talked about it earlier. He's kind of struggled to start as a starter. I know his very first start, I guess he was okay. I don't even think he was able to go 4 innings. I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's tough to go into the cell and face that White Sox lineup, no doubt. He was given a 6-0 lead though. That game was tough. Even though I wasn't watching, I was just following on my phone. But I don't know, man. I just need him to bounce back, man. He had a bad outing. Now it's time to bounce back. Like, show us what you're made of, man. Like, he's great out of the bullpen all season. He's got the stuff. Like, let's see what you got. He's going up against a really bad Pirates team. So, it's very similar to this game where, Justin Steele was really good. And the naysayers will be like, well, he faced the Twins who suck. Well, tomorrow, if Keegan Thompson's good, the naysayers will say, well, it's the fucking Pirates. So, I'll take it though. I'll take it.
Hell yeah.
So,
Hell yeah.
At the very least, it's a building block for him because
right.
for guys his age, confidence is so key, man. So I'll take Ian Happ. And like I said, I'd like to see Keegan Thompson at least give me 4. I based off pitch count, how they've been doing it, I would hope for 4 innings. Maybe 5. I don't know, but I guess, I'm looking for more, like looking at the strike and ball total. Want to see how many strikes because I think one of the biggest problems he has is he's had a lot of deep counts because he hasn't been able to finish batters off. So it'll be interesting to see how he does that against this Pirates team. So again, the Cubs are looking to see what they got in him. At this moment, I think he's a better bullpen arm than he is a starter. So prove me wrong, Keegan. That's all I got.
Prove him wrong, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, just to back up the stats that you said, his first start returning was against Kansas City. He went 4 innings, only gave up 2 earned runs. He did walk 2, only struck out 1. I think that was just a classic case of bad luck. You only give up 2. You only give up 2 and you lose. It sucks. But again, like you said, that White Sox start only went 2 innings, gave up 5 runs, 4 of which were earned, walked 2 again, and only strike out 1. So I agree with you. I think the big key for him is going to be, hey, can you get those strikeout numbers maybe up a little bit? They don't need to be astronomical. Give us a Justin Steele tonight start. 3-3, 3-4 maybe. Like balance it out a little more. Maybe not as many runs. Maybe he is destined for the bullpen. We won't know. But again, he's going to get that opportunity the rest of the year to show what he has. And if he can come out and throw a great game, like you said, who cares it's against Pittsburgh? It's a confidence builder. It's going to help him in his development. If he can go out there and give you 5 really good innings against the Pittsburgh Pirates tomorrow, that's a huge deal. Again, this is a team that just last night, well, technically, oh no, not yet. Still last night. We're not midnight yet. So, but just last night, like, pressured the White Sox and like kind of beat up on Giolito a little bit. So like they're not awful. They're not atrocious. They're bad, but they're not that bad. Like if Keegan Thompson go out there and give you a good start, like that's a good thing that you have going for you. And again, they're back home. So like no DH anymore. I don't know if it's going to be Rivas versus Schwindel. That's going to be a hell of a lineup decision for Ross the rest of the year because both guys are hitting. So I'm going to avoid that position. I'm actually going to go Patty Wise as my fly the debut player. I think he ties KB's rookie home run record tomorrow with his 26th home run of the season. And then I think before we get to, I'm going to call it right now, before we get to September 11th, because that'll be the first game I'm back at Wrigley, I think Patty Wise breaks the record as well and gets to that number 27 and sets the rookie home run record for the Cubs. Rookies with 27. So I'm gonna go ahead and take Patrick Wisdom as my fly debut player.
Ron, did you know that the Cardinals traded Patrick Wisdom because they thought Matt Carpenter's salsa was going to save their franchise?
That's what I heard. I also heard he was traded for a Prius, a washing machine. What were some of the other ones? I've been keeping tabs. I've been keeping tabs on those because I get a good giggle out of every single one of them. So I'm like, oh, we got a Prius, we got a washing machine,
the equivalent of cash consideration.
Yeah, the equivalent of cash consideration. That poor bastard that gets traded like at least 15 times a year. Let's see, the equivalent of a coupon for Felco windows.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm running out of like things.
I'll send you a couple. We'll collaborate on this. But nonetheless, I agree with you, man. I mean, he literally was traded for a bag of balls. Like, I mean,
I just, if there's any, I've been wrong about a lot of things this year. Like, in May, I was like, this team fucks. We're going to the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. Like, we're major league. Like, these are major league vibes, like the movie, blah, blah, blah. We were all
Give me
wrong
Wild
about
Thing
it.
on the Mound.
You can literally go back and find the tweets and fucking retweet me and call me a dumbass. Fine. Whatever. I was just being a fan. Whatever. But the one thing I have been right about all season is Patrick fucking Wisdom, man. Whenever he was raking, when I researched him, I was like, this guy has never had a chance to play in the major leagues at a consistent level. The Cubs are giving it to him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And here he is, about to break the rookie record, man. I just wish the team was good.
Fucking delivering. He's playing great defense.
Yeah.
He's playing incredible
He had a great play
offense.
tonight at third.
Yeah. Check out the Cubs on Tap Twitter account. There's that play of him scooping up that play, that little soft dribbler up the third base line to Rivas, who makes a nice stretch for it too and gets the nice pick. Again, if it doesn't make you feel some type of way, I don't know what to tell you, because I enjoy watching Patrick Wisdom play third base. And I'm telling you what, Cody, we see the Ortega jersey. Everybody that watches Cubs on Tap religiously when we're live sees the Ortega jersey behind me when I'm on. There is a very good chance that if there is a Patrick Wisdom jersey on September 11th when I am at the ballpark, it will be purchased and it will be hanging right next to Rafael Ortega for the Cubs postgame immediately following that game. So I'm just warning people, there might be a number 16 jersey up there.
I kind of want to go get a Michael Hermosillo one. We haven't talked about him tonight, but I just love the name, and if he does,
and he's a local kid.
I'm cheering for him. And if things don't work out, and if I have a jersey that says that, man, that's a
Hermosillo. You're like,
in 5 years, people will be like,
Holy fuck.
That's a bingo square. Like if you're playing Jersey bingo at the ballpark, that's a bingo square. That's the last one you need to complete bingo. Like
that's
give me
that,
the most obsolete jersey you can possibly find. And it's like, oh, I saw Michael Hermosillo, and it's like, son of a bitch, you win. You win. And everybody will love you forever.
It'd be one of those like I see the blue check marks. They'll tweet pictures of fans on their jerseys. Sometimes they always tweet ones of like just long tenured, or not long tenure, but guys who were Cubs or whatever a long time ago.
You mean like Mike Fott now?
Yeah, or like Kosuke Fukudome or whatever. Like that would be like Michael Hermosillo in like 5 years if things don't work out.
Absolutely. You know what the best part about Fukudome is like his T-shirt actually got me in trouble in middle school. I bought a Fukudome T-shirt, and Cubs on Tap guys know this story, but maybe the Cubs on Tap crew or listeners, you may have heard, if you're a loyal listener, you've heard the story before, but I'll keep it very brief and very short. Long story short, I wore a Fukudome shirt to school, had a gym teacher. She didn't know what the hell who Fukudome was. She naturally reads "fuck you, do me" on the back of a jersey, takes me down to the principal's office. Thankfully, one of the male gym teachers was down there and goes, "That's a player." And she goes, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, that's a player. That's Fukudome. They just signed him." And she just got so embarrassed, and we all laughed it off. But again, just like anytime I hear Kosuke's name, I'm just like, that fucking jersey got me in trouble when I was in seventh grade. And I was
Cubs
pumped,
legend, baby.
Cubs legend. You know, he had a hot first half of the year. We all thought he was the savior. Kosuke coming over, like he's going to get us to the playoffs. And then like All-Star break came and went, and he fizzled off, and he became what he became. But always all kinds of fun. But Cody, do you have any final thoughts before we go ahead and wrap this thing up?
No, man, we ended up being here an hour and 10 minutes. It felt nice. I know our shows are usually 30, 40 minutes. So if you're sticking around for this long, appreciate you. Thanks for everyone for following along, listening, and all that good shit. It's always great. It's very cool and tough, as we like to say here.
Cool and tough.
Yeah, man. No, it's good to be back. I don't know if we're going to have a post-game show tomorrow, but we'll probably have one Friday or at the very least Saturday or Sunday. So
absolutely.
Stay tuned and keep following along. I mean, again, I tweeted it out. You know, I am optimistically hopeful for a 500 month of September. We're 1-0 in September, baby.
It's a good fucking start. Hey, to get to 500, that's a good start. We'll start 1-0,
baby.
And I'm right there with you, man. I mean, honestly, like this Cubs team, there's enough guys on this roster that at least can make shit interesting. And you're sitting here and telling me, like, especially against a very subpar schedule, this team can't go 500, especially if you get good pitching like they've seen the last couple, 4, 5, 6 games.
I understand the
Why
draft
not?
pick. I understand the draft pick. And maybe, you know, I guess if Kumar Rocker gets taken a pick or two before the Cubs in the draft next year, I guess you can go back and call me a dumbass for cheering for a 500 record if that happens. It's just with the MLB draft, it's so like
it's hit and miss.
It's so much more hit and miss than the NFL or the NBA draft. Like there's no there's just no sure thing. And we've talked about it in so many times about
I was gonna say
that the Cubs have taken.
I'll go back to the
picks.
Right. I'll go back to the 2013 draft.
Right.
Number 1
Mark
overall
Appel.
pick, Mark Appel, baby. Not even in the major leagues anymore. You know who number 2 in that draft was? Chris Bryant. Continue. Right. Again, just because you're a top pick in the draft doesn't mean shit in the major leagues. And there's guys that are the guy that just, again, White's www.ontapsportsnet.com. I do a lot of editing. 18th round pick for the White Sox just got called up today because he's been raking in the minor leagues. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. It's like just if you're a good player. And again, we've seen the Cubs organization find guys, right? Like Schwarber was a 4th overall pick. Ian Happ was like a 14th pick. Like they found guys that have come up and contributed to the major league roster. You don't think they're going to be able to find a guy?
Nico Horner was a late 1st rounder, man.
Yes, that's a perfect example. Like,
and you could have argued that if he had stayed healthy in the first half, you could have argued he was making a play for the All-Star game.
Yeah, he really was. I mean, he was hitting the shit out of the ball and playing good defense. Like, and that's the thing, right? Like, you're gonna sit here and tell me.
But then also, Albert Almora was like taking number 6 overall,
5 or 6,
or whatever.
Yeah. He was
like
again. It's a fucking crapshoot, people.
Right.
If the Cubs are picking 6 versus 8, who the fuck cares? As long as they put the scouting in to get the guy that they want, I don't care where they're picking. It doesn't fucking matter.
My biggest thing with the entire situation is like if you purposely lose, or if you literally are trying to lose, it ruins any kind of culture that you've already built. And I know Rizzo, Bryant, Baez aren't there, but you can see the Cubs are going out there and trying to win every game, every night. Like they don't go. Of course, there have been some bad ones, no doubt. There's no doubt been some bad ones, but considering the roster, all things considered, with the roster, you know, they've gone out there and battled every fucking night. And
they give you competitive effort.
I don't want that to end. I want this team to keep that winning mentality that they've had the last 7 years, you know, and just, you know, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, don't lose the culture. By the time
that pick comes, it's going to be July next year, and no one's going to really give 2 fucks about how the Cubs finished in September.
Don't lose the culture. The culture is not worth losing over the 6th pick versus the 8th pick. Nobody gives a fuck.
There will be a tweet in July of next year where someone's bitching about how, the Cubs tried too hard in September. I'm going to roll my eyes. I'm going to let everyone know now. I will roll my eyes super hard when that happens. And when I see it, I'll probably quote tweet it and tell them to fuck off. I won't really do that. But I will say something. I will be like, just, especially if the Cubs are good in July.
You will remind everybody that Patrick Wisdom was traded for a Prius.
A used one.
A used Prius. And a used one at that, damn it.
A used one that's driven by someone who's vegan. I don't know.
Hysterical. I absolutely love it, dude. It's
nothing
it's
against
fantastic.
the vegan people, but
no,
come on, man. We're all about our meats here at On Tap.
Just silly, yeah. You know, talk to the Bears on Tap, guys. I'll tell you, put your meat on the table. But no, nonetheless, man, I do want to remind everybody, Cody, before we get out of here, Cubs on Tap, the official Cubs podcast of the On Tap Sports Network. Check us out, www.ontapsportsnet.com, at On Tap Sportsnet on social media. Follow us at Cubs on Tap. Well, we're not at Cubs on Tap. We are at Cubbies on Tap, Cubbies. That's Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Loose on Tap. Cody's at Cody on Tap. Follow all of our other great panelists at Juice on Tap, at Joe Maris, at Marty Laval, at The Riot 326, and all the others that contribute here to Cubs. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, we got it all. And yes, Cubs fans, all of us know Sox fans that are friends of ours. The Sox on Tap crew does a great job covering the Southsiders as well. So once again, www.ontapsportsnet.com, at OnTapSportsNet on social media, the On Tap Sports Network. Go ahead and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. Cody, it's always a pleasure, my man. I'm glad you're back. Glad you enjoyed your trip to California. We enjoyed ourselves tonight. It's a nice long episode for everybody as you wake up on Thursday morning. Let us get you ready for the weekend. You know, Thursday's kind of the unofficial start of the weekend. Let us get you started for the weekend. Cubbies win. They take the series against the Twins. We're going to go see the lowly Pirates back at Wrigley starting tomorrow night. And I'm excited for it because Keegan's getting the start. We'll see some Patty-wise. We'll see some Schwindel. Hopefully we see more Rivas. Hap stays hot. Who knows? A lot of shit to keep an eye on with the Cubs through the rest of September. And again, Cody and I both rooting for a 500 September out of this Cubs team to at least just reinforce that winning culture heading into the offseason. So, Cody, what do you say, my man? We get out of here the only way to how to?
Let's go, Cubs.
Let's go.